Are the crypto markets looking like it's going to be rebounding sometime soon? In my opinion, I think it has a pretty high chance of doing that. And let me tell you guys why. Okay, like I mentioned yesterday on my longer video yesterday about the stock market, there was a bear trap for the stock market, which that is a bullish signal. Okay, but I am really looking for the S&P 500 to break out of its bearish pattern, just like I'm looking at a bearish pattern here for Bitcoin. Now, if that bear trap and a possible breakout coming for stock market, that bullish signal could ignite a huge rebound for Bitcoin, which is still the driver of this crypto market. If Bitcoin pumps, that is still good. I mean, that's very good for the altcoins, but if it dumps, that's very bad for the altcoins, as we're seeing today. Okay, so you want to be rooting for Bitcoin. I am going to be also talking about a few altcoin setups later in this video, so I highly don't recommend that you guys skip through because I never trade altcoins without a clear understanding of what Bitcoin is doing. Because Bitcoin, if it dumps, it could wreck your altcoins. But we're going to be talking about Spark SPK, Starknet STRK, as well as I forget the third one here. Let me take a look. Turbocoin, which is Turbo USDT. See what has happened in these coins since the last time I've talked about them. What are their price targets, their trading setups, and if I am looking at any possible opportunities for these altcoins. Let's go ahead and dive into some major news first before the charts. Let's go ahead and take a look into the first piece of news here, which is by Crypto Potato. Bitcoin's super cycle pattern points to 150k, says analysts. I think 150k is still very conservative based on what I'm seeing on the monthly RSI for Bitcoin. Comparing the monthly RSI reading right now to previous bull cycle tops like 2021 and 2017. I'm not saying that it has to exactly play out that way, but there's nothing that's telling me otherwise right now. Okay, I mean, I am still long on Bitcoin. I am still long on quite a bit of the altcoins here. So my opinion, of course, right now is still bullish. I'll tell you guys when I change my opinions, but of course, these are just my opinions only and not financial advice. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next piece here. Is going to be by the block. Excuse me. Ethereum's monthly spot volume tops Bitcoin trading on centralized exchanges for first time in over 7 years. Yeah, I think the Ethereum setup, if we actually zoom out a little bit into the weekly time frame, monthly time frame, uh, I see that it has actually just passed some very important resistance here at about that $4,000 level for Ethereum. I mean, could Ethereum go back to retest those levels before continuing upwards? Yeah, it's possible, and that's going to be like an almost 10% down. I am long on Ethereum as well, based on that idea, because I think it has just, it has actually broken through some very important resistances, okay? And I am looking to take a profit on Ethereum, a short-term profit, a short target profit on Ethereum as well. So that is basically what I'm seeing for ETH. Okay, but given this bullish Ethereum setup, I think we're still just getting started. I think the altcoins total 3 is bound to catch up if Ethereum breaks above its previous real all-time high from back in 2021, which is about 4,900. Okay, next piece here is by Crypto Potato. Bitcoin price analysis. Will Bitcoin crash below 100k if the support breaks? We have quite a bit of support underneath Bitcoin right now, including the weekly 21 SMA, the 3-day 50 SMA, and of course the daily 200 SMA. That's in between 100k here and where the price action is here right now. So quite a bit of support. Um, do I think it is possible for Bitcoin to break below 100K. I mean, yes, but I don't think it's I mean, right now, given the data right now, I don't think it's a high chance. All right, next piece here is by the block. From 4,400 to $53 million, dormant Bitcoin wallet wakes up for the first time in nearly 13 years. I mean, this is just, I mean, it's very amusing because it's either this person is either very rich or very dumb, right? How could you wake up? I mean, how could you barely get it back into a wallet after 13 years? I mean, you must not look at the news, or you're just so rich that you just don't even care. So this is amusing to see. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's go ahead and go to the next piece here, which is by Cointelegraph. It says Bitcoin's euphoric phase cools as 112K becomes key price level. I think 112K is pretty key, and let me show you guys why I think that on the charts. But I don't think it's that critical. Okay, I think 112K is definitely the next resistance here, because that is where the daily 21 SMA is coming down to. Basically, it's approaching. That is going to be a very key resistance on this daily time frame. If it gets above that, the next resistance I'll be looking at will be the daily 50 SMA, currently at about 115K. I don't think they're that key. I think they're very. I mean, I think they're going to be resistances that I would probably expect some pullback from, but I don't think it's a critical resistance, right? So something she's just paying attention to be paying attention to. Of course, I do see some bullish signals on this daily time frame as well, which includes this breakout of this falling wedge pattern, right? It broke out about 3 days ago, and the price target for this pattern here would be about 121.5K. Now, price targets are estimates only, and there could be more or less. Very much depends on the type of market we're in. I still think we're in a bull market. So I think it's likely that we get back to 121K and beyond. However, also have to consider the downside, right? Because it could still be that Bitcoin breaks and comes all the way back here to retest this upper trend line here of this rising wedge pattern. Just got to note this, right? On this weekly time frame, there is still a rising wedge pattern, right? And if we break down from this pattern, it is still a huge breakdown target. So it is very important for the bulls to actually show up here. Otherwise, we could see some major downside for Bitcoin, for a lot of these altcoins as well. So this is the so we have some mixed signals. Okay. However, I am still bullish on the monthly time frame. So very important to be keeping an eye out on right now, since we have a few mixed signals here. So let's go ahead and take a look into altcoin setups now. Okay. So this is Starknet, STRK. See what's happening with STRK USDT here. I'm gonna wait for my chart to load. And let's take a look here. All right, weekly time frame. This is a falling wedge pattern, which usually breaks to the upside. Okay, and it did quite a few weeks ago for STRK. And what I'm seeing here is a breakout that hasn't really done too much yet, right? And it is trying to get above the weekly 21 SMA, which is currently at about almost 14 cents as resistance. Now, the price target for this breakout here would be about $1.20 breakout target. Now, breakout targets are estimates only, like I said. Very much depends on what Bitcoin is doing, of course. If Bitcoin starts dumping from here, these setups are going to be not worth too much. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame and see if I can get a little bit more clarity on what Starknet could be doing. Daily time frame, falling wedge pattern. Okay, I don't have exactly 3 candles touching on the bottom trend line, but I think it's close enough. Now, price target, if it breaks out by this point, for example, price target would be about just short of 17 cents here. Now, I also want to mention that there has been a few patterns here on some of these altcoin setups that have been invalidated. Okay, if you want to check for reference, check my last videos on these altcoins. But some patterns have been invalidated and updated. Now, I also want to mention that I did point out a possible cup and handle scenario on this weekly time frame if we actually still get rounded bottoms on this weekly time frame. But if it comes down here for a double bottom or lower, then we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to reconsider that scenario. Let's go ahead and go to Spark SPK. Let's take a look into what's happening with SPK here. All right, let's take a look into the daily time frame. Since this is it still looks like a relatively new coin. Daily time frame, falling wedge pattern, trying to break out of this pattern here. Okay, it usually breaks to the upside. However, also got to consider the downside as well, which includes scenarios where, you know, the falling wedge actually breaks down, right? Breaks the bottom trend line. Also, consider the scenario where if the price action, fake outs, right? If falling wedges break to the upside, but they don't go all the way to its price target. Okay, nothing in this market is 100%. I've seen breakouts that fall way short of its price target and starts dumping again. So those are some scenarios to be paying attention to. Right now, Spark is trying to break out of this falling wedge pattern, and if it's successful, on this breakout point here, then the price target would be about 11 cents price targets. Let's see if we can get there. Let's go ahead and go to the next piece, next coin here, which is Turbo. Let's take a look into what's happening with Turbo USDT. Let's zoom out. Let's zoom out. Okay. And on this weekly time frame, I think I've been talking about this for the longest time. It broke out of this falling wedge pattern. The breakout is still valid. Okay, the price target is still valid as well because since the breakout here, the price action is still above this upper trend line of the pattern it broke out from. And the price target here will still be about 1 cent price target for Turbo. Now, it has not done too much. It has went as far up as about 0.7 cents. Okay, let's take a look into a shorter time frame and see if I can get any more clarity on what Turbo could be doing. Last time I talked about a falling wedge on the daily time frame, it broke out back in August 7th. Price target for this one would be about 0.63 cents. And it has not gotten there yet, but this breakout is still valid. And it has formed this another falling wedge pattern here. Okay, and if it breaks up at this point, for example, price target would be about almost 0.5 cents here for Turbo. So let's see if we can start hitting some of these price targets before getting to the bigger one there at about 1 cent. So this is basically what I'm seeing for some of these altcoin markets. The Bitcoin market, of course, that represents the crypto markets as a whole, because if Bitcoin starts dumping from here, that's not going to be good for the altcoins. So you want to be rooting for Bitcoin. So this basically wraps it up for this video. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of Turbo, Spark, Starknet by dropping a like, comment, subscribe, or let me know if you guys want to see any other coins in this market. I'll pick a request to do for you guys on a daily basis.